Are we there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're listening to the Doc Owen Show. We're glad you're here. I'm sorry we're a little bit late for being on the air. We had a stray dog show up earlier in the evening, and the owners just dropped by to pick her up. So Molly is on her way home. So all's well that ends well. It was a sweet little Brittany Spaniel. So she had herself some water and some homemade pork ribs before she went back to the house. But it caused us to be
we didn't know how long she had been without food.
There you go. So this is the Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. And the best place to find us is just add a .com to the end of that, DocOwenShow.com. And you can go out there and listen to the show. You can listen to podcasts. You can go into our store. We've got a new Doc Owen Show store that's got all sorts of stuff in it, and the options are growing like on a weekly basis. It's built on 3 primary pillars. Boy, if it's primary pillars: prepared, practical, patriot, and underprepared, we have pampered and pet.
Yeah.
You got to take care of your pet if you're going to be a prepared, prepped patriot. So, we are also on social media, but we're not making a big deal out of that because social media is going away. It's one of those fads. Things happen in the world of technology, and fads kind of come and go, and social media is one of them. It's just about spent.
Yeah,
It's on its last leg.
Yeah, maybe people will start talking to each other again.
Whew, what a concept. So the title of tonight's show is Bobbie's Boondoggle, and as I was looking at it, I realized I spelled Bobbie's wrong because that implies that it's a female. But it's not. I just felt like after we'd listened to Robert Mueller for 2.5 years that he really didn't deserve the respect of being called Robert. So him or Bobbie around the Doc Owen Show. He's just a familiar character, and I think he's not, speaking of not going away, he's not going to go away either. So, and then we've also got... if you listened last week, you heard the first half of a conversation we had with Mr. Nico LaHood, and Nico is back with the second half of our conversation, and we get to talk about R-rated Christianity, which is Nico's new concept, if you will, and that's kind of the current tagline for it. So I think you'll find it just as interesting as the conversation last week. Mm-hmm. As always, or as mostly is a better way to say it, I am joined in the Hilltop Studios by...
I'm a Surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
Uncle Bocce. It may be a while now before you hear all 3 of us together due to birthday plans and graduation plans and...
Yep.
This is the time of the year that Uncle Bocce says, "See ya, I'll be back in July."
Well, not quite.
So I don't know how his garden fares while he's gone, but it'll just have to take care of itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be here.
My daughter will walk.
There you go.
It.
And we also have a failed to mention, and I need to, free apps for both the Android and Apple devices. And they are really great because you can not only listen to the show at your leisure, you can also dig down and listen to some of the past episodes. It goes all. We've been on the air 6 years, and I don't know that we've got 6 years worth of stuff out there, but we got quite a bit. It goes back a pretty fur piece, as we say in Texas. Well, we always begin the show after those first little bit of self-advertising in a very traditional manner to kind of set the pace. And that is Ms. Surefire leads us off with an inspirational quote that she's dug deep to retrieve. Uncle Bocce comes up with something to do, well, actually, he comes up with something to do historically within a day or two of the actual date of
You're
the
finally
show.
getting it. You're finally getting it.
It's usually within the same week.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So because
That's pretty close.
And then I finish it out under normal circumstances. The objective was with a leadership quote, but lately it's been a quote from the scriptures that also serves as a leadership quote. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from a site I've never used before. And it is called WOW, W-O-W, and the number 4 and the letter U. So wowforyou.com.
I like
Pretty
it.
neat. Pretty neat. And tonight's quote comes from a gentleman by the name of Robert Bly.
B-L-Y-E?
B-L-Y.
Oh, just B-L-Y.
Okay.
Like bye-bye, but Bly.
Okay.
And he is American
That's why he goes
poet.
by Robert instead of Bob,
That's right.
you know.
Yep.
Bob Bly.
Bye-bye.
That doesn't
It
work.
almost sounds like bye-bye.
That's right.
And he is an American poet.
Okay.
And his quote is, everybody has problems, but everybody also has blessings in life.
There you go. Mm-hmm. I have a standard phrase that the audience might want to adopt when it comes to problems. You know, when people say, how you doing? Just one of those, how you doing? I mean, my usual response is, I'm doing fabulous. I said, no major problems, lots of little ones, but I'm not going to tell you about them because then I'm obligated to listen to yours, and I don't want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, good job on the Robert Bly. Say it again. Tell it.
The saying?
Yeah.
The quote?
Yeah.
Everybody has problems, but everybody also has blessings in life.
There you go.
And that's true.
Absolutely.
Yep. What do you got?
Today,
Bocce Rocket.
Bocce Rocket. Okay. In 1775, Paul Revere and William Dawes set out to warn the countryside around Boston that the British were coming. That's what happened today. We forget about William Dawes, but we know Paul Revere pretty much. He got all the glory, but William Dawes, they went in different directions, but they got the people all roused up.
Why is that? Why do we know about Paul Revere's ride and not William Dawes' ride?
Probably because Paul Revere has pots that he sells.
The other one traveled less traveled
That was-
out.
Pots, not pot.
Not pot.
We're
I'll
on
just-
a roll
It was
tonight.
legal back then.
Yeah, yeah. And also today was the San Francisco fire in 1906, which I shouldn't say it, but
Yeah.
I think they should evacuate the city and burn it down again.
There you go.
That's terrible, but all the problems they got there right now.
It's a pretty sad situation.
Yep.
I'm not sure how to follow that with a biblical quote, but I'm going to anyway. I thought I'd give it a moment of silence to kind of clear the air for a minute.
Right.
This is from a book from one of our listeners, G. God Bless America, that I use almost every week now. This is from the book of Job 22:21. Submit to God and be at peace with him. It is the way prosperity will come to you.
Amen.
Okay? End of discussion.
Sounds good to
It
me.
works. So, are you ready?
Am I ready?
Yeah.
I'm
Are you ready?
Yeah. This
So
will be real quick.
I got a feeling you're going to tell us about somebody that all three of us know, but we're still going to call it history, right?
Yeah, we're still going to call it history
Hey,
for the young folks, but yeah. Tonight we're going to talk about number 40, Ronald Reagan.
Okay, we're getting pretty close to real time.
This is real time.
Yeah, yeah.
So Yeah, it was Ronald Wilson Reagan,
Yeah.
and he had attempted to run for president in 1976, but he didn't get the nomination. The nomination went.
This is his third try.
This is his well. First of all, he was president of Screen Actors Guild, so he was an actor. Everybody knows him as an actor.
Well, yeah.
You know, they know that he was an actor, and he also he failed to get the nomination in 1976 to the guy we talked about last week,
Right.
Gerald Ford.
Right.
Remember that guy, right?
Right.
Okay.
But I thought he failed it twice. Just once?
Far as I know, it was once.
Reagan?
Yeah. Oh,
I
well,
know
go
for
ahead.
sure.
Yeah, he didn't get the nomination.
You're the historian. Go for
Yeah,
it.
and okay, so cut to the chase here. He won election twice. The first election in 1980 was to Democrat Jimmy Carter. He was the incumbent.
Right.
But he had screwed up the economy so bad, the country did eventually go into recession for the first year of Reagan's rule.
Right.
But he really beat the living daylights out of
Carter.
Carter.
Yeah.
He really, really did.
Yeah, how hard was that?
Yeah, and Walter Mondale. And then in 1984, he ran again, and this time he had an even bigger margin. I think there was only one state, and it's not even a state, I think it was D.C., that was not red.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
He won a landslide victory against Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro.
Ah.
Okay. And he, like I said, when he got into office, the country was in a recession, but he immediately passed tax cuts.
Right.
And so by 1983, the economy just boom,
Roared back. Yeah,
roared
sure.
back.
Of course.
Roared back. Now, he had a couple of little tax increases in there in between before he left office. But still, the economy just roared back. And
Was he the president during the bust of 86?
bust of 86.
1986? No?
What's that?
I don't know
Okay.
what that is.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So he there was one scandal that he was involved in, and a lot of people know there's the Iran-Contra scandal.
Yeah.
And that was in his second term, and it was over the idea of selling arms to Iran to help the Nicaraguans or something. I don't know the full details of that. I never really paid much attention to it. But that was significant. Now, some of the other things that he did that were significant, one of the most important events that occurred during Reagan's administration was the growing relationship between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Right.
So he had a great relationship with, especially Gorbachev at the time,
Yeah.
Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the leader of the Soviet Union. And so they had a big openness between them. They called it glasnost, which means openness.
Okay.
Okay. And so Reagan took the position of a massive buildup of weapons because he wanted to beat down the USSR, and the USSR could not match what we did.
Right.
And eventually we did see the decline of the USSR into the individual states that they are today.
Mm-hmm.
So the he also adopted. You have to forgive me, folks, because it's been a busy week and I didn't really get my notes down. Okay, very, very well. So please forgive my stuttering. Some of the stats that were going on by then, the gross national product increased 3.6% in 1983. That's when the boom started. And by 6.8% in 1984. So just like we're seeing now, there's amazing growth going on. In comparison, in 1982, the economy had shrunk by 2.5%. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty bad, but it came back. There was inflation, but it remained under control through 1985. And there was lower interest rates. The stock market boomed in early 1980s with the Dow Jones Industrial Average rising nearly 33% in Reagan's first term. There were a number of terrorist attacks, but nothing really to talk about. There was a bombing in the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, and Reagan claimed 5 countries that aided the terrorists: Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, and Nicaragua. Okay, and of course, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, when he was alive, he was singled out as the primary terrorist. Now, there are a couple of speeches, if you want to really know the heart of this man, there's a few speeches that you really ought to go and read. I'm not going to go over them now, just tell you what they are. The one that he gave was called The Evil Empire, when he squarely told the Soviet Union what they really were and told the world what they really were. The Star Wars speech, okay? And his 1985 State of the Union, which followed up on the things that he said about the evil empire. And the speech where he said, Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Right.
Now, and that came true after he left office. And he was a pretty funny guy.
Oh, he was hilarious.
Oh, he was hilarious. I just want to illustrate that by giving you a couple of quotes, okay? Every time the government is forced to act, we lose something in self-reliance, character, and initiative.
Yeah.
Okay, which was good. Another funny one, what he says is the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." He was a great guy. And another one, he said that Thomas Jefferson once said, "We should never judge a president by his age, only by his works. And ever since he told me that, I stopped worrying." So the man was just he was just a natural. He was just full of a lot of good, and the country really got on a stable footing. But then, of course, was destroyed. And the other one was government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Yeah. And boy, does that still hold true. But a lot of people forget those things about Ronald Reagan.
Well, so, the quote I remember the most is that we're only one generation away from losing our republic.
Our republic.
Right.
Yep.
And I think it's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless we do something about it.
We'll talk about, like some of the freshmen that we've got in Congress right now.
Here's another really funny one, okay? One way to make sure crime doesn't pay. Right. Would be to let the government run it.
You know what? I think they've taken him up on it.
I think they have. I think they have with all the criminal activity that's going on lately.
I think that's one thing about Reagan that the other party did like.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
So are we going to do Electoral College next week?
Well, I won't be here next week.
Oh, okay.
Because it's birthday week next week, and I'm going up to the Dallas area.
And then we'll be gone the following week after.
Yeah. Did you hear that, folks? You do realize, of course, that last week was the show night was my birthday night, and we had a show. But Uncle Bocce's birthday.
It's your show, though. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
Yeah. So so you'll be going on the 2nd. So it'll be May 9th. May 9th when I'll be back. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break from the presidents and we're going to talk about the Electoral College because that's at the top of the list of a lot of people's minds right now.
Well, it's on their minds because there's a movement to do away with it.
Right.
And so I think it is, and to some people, doing away with it seems to make sense.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Therefore, we would like to very eloquently but straight up put that to rest, because the Electoral College, whether you agree with it, well, I don't want to spoil the fun.
Yeah.
The Electoral College and the way that process works is extremely, extremely important. It was one of the most brilliant things that they did to protect the republic from becoming a democracy.
Yeah, or mob rule.
Which
so,
is,
and we'll get into the
is mob rule.
Right. Yes, thank you. So we'll get into that in detail, and you will understand why it is important and why it's constitutional.
And why we are not a democracy. And
exactly.
And anytime you hear somebody refer to this country as a democracy, you need to be able to correct them.
Yes, you do.
And we will start that education.
Yes.
Or continue it, actually. All right. So you think, is Nico warmed up? Is he ready to go? Huh? You talked to him lately? He's in the queue.
All right. Nico.
Let's dive right into our friend. This is the second part of a conversation we had recently with Nico LaHood. Nico is a local attorney. He's a former district attorney here in Bexar County. That's where we became friends with him, but we've continued the relationship, and he is on at least once a month. And so give a listen and see what you can learn. In your life. Based on not, and I don't mean that in a natural life way. I don't mean that in a compensation way or fame and fortune and all that jazz. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience of being a little older.
You're older than me?
No, 6 months, I think. 6-7 months.
Times.
Factor of. It's just constantly a chance to improve and to deliver the message, because like you said, there's folks that are hungry for it, and there's folks that are hungry for it and don't even know they are.
Look, I've had the blessing of being able to talk to many groups, from halfway houses to Haven for Hope and homeless centers and at risk. And I never label a child at risk. That's a bunch of BS, man. They're not. They're just going through a tough season in their life. And if we can change their worldview, we're going to change their behavior. Their behavior is an extension of what they believe.
I have this thing about calling them kids.
Well, I mean,
that's where it starts.
Well, I'm just telling you, at risk. I mean, I don't like the at risk.
I don't like the label. Exactly.
They're not at risk. You're not living the way up to your God-given potential. Let's leave it that way. And all I know is I want to be obedient to what I'm called to do and be honest about it and be able to give answers, because they're hungry. They're hungry for guidance. In the church, out of the church, in politics, out of politics. And so we just need to do better. The church, I'm critical of the Christian church. We need to do better as a Christian church to properly handle the word of truth, to always be prepared to give an answer, like 1 Peter 3:15 tells us, to anyone who asks us why we have the hope we have. There's reasons, there's evidence behind that. There's general revelation, there's special revelation. We should be able to answer everything. And my buddy George, who teaches with me in apologetics, defending the Christian worldview, he says it the best. He goes, the Christian worldview is the best answer for all the evidence we have to consider. It's true, and I thought about that. I was like, that's great. Evidence meaning creation, science, the depravity of the human condition, restoration, redemption, what happens. Ravi Zacharias, who's a great apologist, one of the people that I follow as a teacher of the Christian worldview, he says every worldview should be analyzed under 4 categories or 4 issues: origin, morality, meaning, and destiny. Origin, where did we come? Why did we get here? How did we get here? Origin, morality, what's the definition of right and wrong? Meaning, why are we here? What are we doing here? And then destiny, where do we go from here? Think about that. Every worldview should be, and the only worldview that coherently mixes those and brings them in synergistically is the Christian worldview. It just really is. As he's speechless, folks. He's speechless.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what I was thinking about was the connectivity between the 4 elements you just gave, and if understanding of one was necessary to get to the next, and I think it is.
Well, they have to work together.
Because I was looking at morality, which I think is a major issue today. And
you think it's a major issue? It absolutely is a major issue. Relative morality, like what's right and wrong to you is not right and wrong to me.
Well, my PhD's in ethics, and so there's a real moral code underlying in ethics.
Well.
So that's where I'm coming from. And yes, you're right. They've even defined a term called what they think is situational ethics.
Well, yeah.
And like...
Which by definition is not ethics.
No.
Right? A principle is not part-time. A principle resists no matter what, stands up against all opposition.
Oh, wait.
A tenet, that's what it does. It can weather or persevere whatever circumstance. That's by definition. And so when people say situational ethics, I've heard that term before. Yeah. That by definition to me is not ethics. No, that's called opportunism.
It's like when I was growing up in the clothing business and some of my competition was selling leisure suits. Pardon me?
Leisure suits.
Yeah, well, you don't know.
I know what they are. Sure. Yeah. I just didn't buy one.
There's no such Yeah, because there's no such thing. It's either a suit or it's a casual outfit. So anyway, but that's sort of what I related to. So I was going from your origin through morality, and literally the reason I was speechless was because I was hung up right there of how do we get to if we don't have that, if you don't have the pillars, if you don't have the baseline, then how do you get from one to the other? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you have to have an answer for that. So
do you think it builds that way, or do you?
Well, no. You have to address it. Think about this. So let's say I come up with a worldview and I give you a definition of right and wrong. Okay. But then you say, well, how do we get here? And where'd you get that from? Right. So I've had wonderful, loving conversations with my friends that are atheist or agnostic, and they say, Nico, are you telling me that I can't be good and not be a Christian? I said, well, no, I'm not saying that. But I'm going to ask you two things. What's your definition of good? Right. Right? And Matthew, as the rich young ruler, asked that to Jesus. He goes, why do you call me good? What are you talking about good? Only God is good. So what's your definition of good? And number two, where's your source? So if I tell you don't steal my stuff, don't assault somebody, don't murder, I can go to the penal code and give you the source of what those rules are from. Right. What's your source? That's all I challenge people. If you have an atheistic worldview, which that's on you. I want to talk you through it. That's all. We'll just have a nice conversation, a loving conversation. But what's your source? Whatever your rules are that you live life is what your source. And why are yours better than mine?
And if you're just if you're just refusing to accept my source, but you don't have one.
Well, I had a discussion with a guy. He wasn't a friend. He wasn't a friend, but he was respectful. He was respectful, and so I really appreciated it. It was after a town hall meeting, and he was one of the people that asked me this question. He goes, "Man, you really talk about your faith a lot." I go, "Well, you talk about your faith too," because he was talking about, hey, he was an atheist. I go, "That's your faith. That's your worldview. You have an atheistic worldview." And he goes, "I really never thought of it that way." I go, "But it's true." And I said, if I prove to you that Christianity is true, and a guy by the name of Frank Turek does this all the time. He's another apologist that I like. He goes, will you become a Christian? And the guy said, no. And I said, well, then wait a minute. Then why are we talking? I go, then we're just here to argue and litigate, and there's no end result. Right. If you can convince me of the atheistic worldview, I'll become an atheist. I'm telling you, I will. Because I want to follow truth wherever it leads me. Right. I go, but if you're not open-minded, I'm not saying to make a commitment, but at least be open-minded to follow truth wherever it leads you, then we're just playing ping pong with no opportunity to win. There's no win. The ball's got to fall off the table sometime. Well, man, something.
We're just going to keep back.
So, and he appreciated that.
Who cares?
I just told him, I just said, man, reach out to me. I'd love to have coffee with you. He was a very respectful guy, man. I really appreciated him, and I thanked him in front of everybody for having a very cordial discourse. I mean, there was a couple of blank moments for him. He didn't have as many answers when I was presenting just logical questions, but he was respectful. Right. Well, he was respectful, and I was very respectful back, so it was good.
Wears me out. Just wears me out. I have to go take a nap after we talk.
What are you talking about?
Just to let it all sink in.
Well, it's a lot out there, man.
There is a lot.
We got to think. Look, we don't teach our kids to critically think anymore, Doc. And I always tell people, just be able to explain the why.
Man, dig deep. Hitting my hot buttons.
We do. But we got to think. We got to peel the onion back. And I do this to Christians. I mean, when a Christian tells me, I always start a lot of my talks, why are you a Christian? And I just pause. And you can tell I don't answer. Just why are you a Christian? Yeah, think about it. Well, because my parents are. Well, that's not a good answer. Right. Why are you a Christian? You're not going to be standing there with your parents when it's all said and done. You might be by yourself. You're going to be by yourself a lot in your life to where your parents aren't there to watch you over. What governs you? Are you persuaded by Jesus and his life and what he taught? I mean, are you a follower of Jesus Christ? I mean, that's it. And if you are, then do a great job of learning what he taught and how to live it out. He modeled it for us. He didn't say, do as I say. He says, do as I did. It's a whole different type of leadership that no other leader of a religion or religious or worldview, and ours is Christian, but they can say. I mean, he modeled it. And that was awesome. I mean, to me, I'm fascinated by the historical figure of Jesus. I really am. I always challenge people, study the life, the historical life, because even atheists, if they're a scholar and a historian, they'll tell you, a guy named Jesus Christ of Nazareth, he taught, he preached, he had disciples, and he was nailed to this cross in a brutal way. He was murdered.
I've found very, very, very few people that refute the fact that he lived.
Nobody with credibility.
Right.
Yeah, even Bart Ehrman, who was a very renowned, and Sam Harris, they're atheists.
The fact that this guy lived, went through all of this. I mean, this stuff is real. They'll refute the fact that he was the Messiah. They may push back on things like that.
Well, and they should. But there's answers for that. But it's okay if they did.
It's okay to question it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but so I just love having conversations. Again, I don't divorce myself from being a lawyer that looks at evidence. I literally, from not a place of kumbaya, I know, how can I have a revival? I didn't go to a tent revival. Nothing wrong with them. Okay? Yeah. But I came to Christ out of pain.
Right.
I stayed because of love, but I came to him from pain.
Right.
And I was angry, and when I talked to my friends, or even
because he took away the pain.
Well, he gave me perspective. Pain is not a bad thing, right? It's not.
Not.
It's not a bad thing. It's keeping it in perspective. Now, does he take away the sting because you have an eternal perspective? Sure he does. Absolutely did for me. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind I'm going to see my brother again.
Yep.
I just hope it's not today, right?
Right.
Because I got a lot to do.
Right.
So I'm going to do my part.
I got it.
I'm going to study to show myself approved. I'm going to be a great agent because 2 Corinthians 5 tells us to be ambassadors for Christ. What does that mean? That we represent the home country in a foreign land. And so, do I represent my home country, which is heaven, in a foreign land? And there's a bunch of wussy Christians out there. And I'm really toning it down for you, my friend. And so, but I mean, are there? There are. I mean, don't just talk truthfully.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about what the book says and why it says it.
Yep.
And everybody freaks out about the Old Testament and, Bill Maher's of the world. And have these conversations. Don't shy away from them. Prepare yourself for them. Educate yourself. Give a good plain answer. There's answers out there. So I came to Christ. I asked every question you can imagine. I mean tough ones. From the flood to Genesis, and that doesn't make sense, and Leviticus, and all the questions that bother everybody without context. Context matters.
Yes, it does.
You read a book in English, and you don't realize that, when you look at the Hebrew in the Old Testament, the Greek in the New Testament, and you look at the history and the hermeneutics, meaning the study of the interpretation,
yes,
and textual criticism, the study of the original transcripts, you have to look at all these things to get context. I give people, I'll give you 2 examples. To my pop, who's 82 years old. I speak 86 years over him, by the way. Look at that. 82 years old. 9/11 was 911 to him. It was just the number after 910.
Right.
At some point in his life, it became 911, an emergency.
Right.
It was still the same numbers. Now, to our generation and to the younger people, it's 9/11.
Yeah.
What happened on 9/11?
Yes.
It's still a 9, 1, and a 1.
Yeah.
But because of the different genre and generations, how it's used, it's different. Just like you're killing me. I can say it and use it in 3 different ways.
Right.
I can say, Doc, how many times have I told you you're killing me? Aren't you paying attention?
Yeah. Right.
Or I can say, man, I'm laughing, I'm going to pee in my pants, you're killing me, stop, right? Or I can say, hey, you're really killing me because you're stabbing me, stop
right.
it, stop it, you're killing me. It's still you're killing me,
right.
But it's used in 3 different... So we have to understand word verbiage and hermeneutics and history. That's a historical book. It's a fascinating book. I mean, it's that type of diving into, and most people say, well, I don't have that much time. Okay, well then you're going to make priorities. Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, we make priorities.
Right.
People prioritize, like I said, college football,
sure,
whatever you working out or whatever. So what's more important to you? That's all. We have to make choices in life. And going through what I went through in life and the challenges and the anger, I prioritized my faith because I needed answers, because I knew it would affect my kids even before they were born. I knew it would affect my marriage, even though I wasn't married yet. I knew it because I saw it. I was in the justice system. I saw the depravity and the brokenness in our justice system.
Right.
And so I studied to show myself approved. I studied, I read, and it's not like I went out there to memorize. There's Christians out there that have memorized Scripture, but they don't understand it. So wisdom comes from knowledge plus understanding, not just knowledge. Knowledge is memorization. You get some schmuck that has a photographic memory. They can memorize the Bible. The scribes did.
Yeah, the same people that come out of school and didn't learn anything, but they did well on the test.
Well, Look, you have to understand what you supposedly know. If you cannot apply problem solving with it, whatever knowledge you have, then you don't have wisdom in that area.
You mentioned 9/11, and then we'll wrap it up. But one of the things that we did when we started the show was try to pick the age group that we were after, and I used the show was started on 9/11. I have a public benefit corporation that was founded on 9/11.
Oh wow!
And there's a reason for that. Because I know, and you know, and we all know now that was a lot of people it was, that they still don't know, a very defining moment in our lives here in this country. And we have yet to realize all the significance.
I agree.
So I had to take that back to, okay, where, and my defining moment like that was the assassination of JFK. That I felt like that drastically changed the country, and I know it changed my worldview. And so that's what I've tried to relate to the audience is, that's when I was 18 years old.
Doing the math, hold on. 18, 1960, what, 7? You got
no, it was 1960. Actually, it was 1963.
63. I was going to say 63.
Yeah. So
I was giving you 4 years, sorry.
That's all right. I graduated from college in 78. That's what I like to tell everybody. So that gives me about 10 years out.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. The defining moments that challenge us.
And those challenges on a world perspective, but sometimes on a personal perspective.
Sure,
too.
it does.
If it throws your what you thought your path was, goes like that, you can So
yeah.
that's when you.
Well, look,
really need to.
I have a passion for young people. I have a passion for everybody, but young people also because they are the next generation. And again, I said this just the other day when I was speaking to that young group of high schoolers. I said, I've seen depravity as the DA and seen evil and seen horrific scenes and situations, and you wouldn't sleep for a month. But nothing keeps me up at night or has kept me up at night like the thought of the world that I'm going to leave back for my kids. Or my grandkids, God willing, at that time.
Right.
And that matters to me. I mean, it really does. I mean, it matters to me. I mean, nobody would leave their kids or anyone they love in a cruddy situation. So I don't want to leave it to society. I mean, I'm not saying I can change everything. Who the hell am I? I'm one person, but I'm still one person. And so we all need to have that mentality. I'm just one person, but I'm still one person. And synergistically together, we can all make a difference. And so that's what I do, and I'm passionate about it. And I study, and I want to educate people on topics, just so they can have the information, and then they can reject it if they want to, but they can't reject it out of ignorance.
There you go.
And I always tell people,
there you go.
And I heard from a pastor friend of mine, or that I was into a long time ago, if someone's gonna be separated from God when they leave this earth, meaning hell. I know it's we don't talk about hell, but if someone's going to be separated from God after they leave this earth, let it be because they had a choice.
I was going to say it's of their own. It's of their own volition.
Let it be because they had a choice. Not And so I'm gonna responsibly and educatedly, and hopefully articulately, but also courageously and graciously, all those words at the same time, represent Christ well and give answers and have discussions, and then let people can make their own decisions. So.
R-rated Christianity coming up.
Come and do somewhere near you. R-rated.
Now showing.
Not PG-rated. R-rated. In many ways.
Flashing neon lights.
Come on, man.
We love you, brother.
Love you too, Dave.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very, very much. Well, bright young man, very, and just has a wealth of passion about life in general. And always, at least I've found something intelligent to say, and we obviously wish him well, and I'm sure there will be a lot of links and sharing between the Doc Owen Show and R-rated Christianity, as he puts it out there. Before the show, I was doing some research, and which I'm prone to do, and I was really digging deep into the concept of this freshman congresswoman that we have that's nicknamed AOC. And I try, you know how you do Google searches and things like that, and I did AOC and intelligence, and my computer, the Google machine, actually came back and laughed at me.
I'd be like frozen, definitely.
No, it gave me a blank screen and then showed some little polar bear kind of rolling around on the floor, laughing his tail off. The craziest thing that she said, it was either today or yesterday, but she was talking about a fellow podcaster by the name of Ben Shapiro, and Ben is an attorney, right? And he had said something about the law and legality of this and legality of that. And, of course, AOC had to give her learned opinion that she didn't really respect what he had to say because he was just an attorney and not a lawyer. That lawyers know the law, but attorneys don't necessarily know.
Oh, man, I tell you.
She was serious.
Wow.
She was serious.
Yeah.
And if you think the country's in good hands with the next generation,
It's not all
you
safe.
need to take a look at the next generation that has been elected to Congress. Can you imagine a house full of 435 AOCs? Yes, ma'am.
And you also have to take a look at the people that work at fast food when they try to make change.
It's
Whoa.
it's everywhere.
Ouch.
But it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. We have an entire, and I know we're not supposed to make allness statements, and we're not supposed to make assumptions, and we're not. There's some very smart, intelligent, right-thinking young people out there. We
That's
have had a
true.
lot of them on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. there
Every
are.
time we get an opportunity, we have them on the show. But
Yeah.
the lack of an ability to think on the part of this particular generation has permeated every level of our society. As Ima pointed out, from the fast food server that can't make
Absolutely.
change without a computer
Yeah.
to a congresswoman. I mean, that's the
Big spectrum.
full spectrum right there. Yes.
Just a comment. I was talking to a friend today who happens to work with Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
She manages a store, a couple of stores. And she was telling me of the horror stories of the teenagers that she has to
Interview or try to
interview
work.
and work with.
Right.
And she said it drives her nuts because
Yeah.
they don't know how to do anything.
No.
And they sit around and all they want to do is talk.
Right.
And they don't prepare the food. She said, I have to get rid of my entire kitchen. I have to fire them all because they're putting out bad food because they're not paying attention. So people, it's real out there.
So let me
Our
see if
education
let me
is-
see if I understand this correctly. In order to tell that story, you had to make sure we knew it was a Chick-fil-A.
No, I didn't have to, but
The reason
You
I'm
know.
teasing about you about that is because Chick-fil-A has been bantered about and has become a major part of the mayoral race that is going on
Here,
in San
yes.
Antonio right now.
Yes.
And the deal is
Shame on
the just to tell you what happened. They are and I'll give you the full and unabridged truth, which is what we're known for, delivering truth to youth.
yes.
It was up. We were the city was putting out for vendors, the food vendors for the airport, right? It's not an annual thing, but it's a consistent thing, and it was time to redo everybody's contracts, and they refused, and the city refused to let
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A bid to have a restaurant at the airport. The stated reason was that they aren't open on Sunday, and we have a lot of airport traffic on Sunday, and as if there would be no place else for them to eat, if the Chick-fil-A were closed, which is not true. The real reason is that they are well known as a Christian organization that supports the marriage of a man and a woman.
Right.
And that's it. Well, apparently our city government doesn't like that. That they donate money to non or anti-glibit candidates and things like that, right? But the fact of the matter is, Chick-fil-A employs a ton of glibits,
absolutely,
as well as serves them with the utmost on any day but Sunday.
With respect, yes.
With respect, et cetera,
Yes,
et cetera.
they do.
And we have a non-discrimination ordinance in this city that says we cannot discriminate against certain vendors because of their politics. So our city council and the mayor ignored our own ordinance to blackball Chick-fil-A. So one candidate is making a big deal out of it. The interesting part about it is, and we went to a debate last night, and it didn't even come up, the Department of Justice, the local Department of Justice office, sent a letter to the mayor and the city council telling them in no uncertain terms, if you don't rescind what you have done, we're coming down on you. And you will not have a leg to stand on.
And
in
so
terms of civil rights.
And so did the Attorney General of Texas.
Yeah, they're all.
Is that who you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about
the Attorney
Fed.
General
That's the Fed.
specifically.
The Fed notified the Attorney
Okay,
General,
the Fed did.
and they
Wow.
both jumped on the bandwagon.
Okay,
and,
good.
And they couldn't even get it to the rescission of it. They couldn't even get enough votes on City Council today to put that
back on the ballot
out there. You know, we often talk local, but I always remind the audience, look around. This is not the only place.
Right.
That's correct.
Every place is a microcosm. We are a microcosm, but the same thing may well be going on in your hometown, even if it's only 10,000 people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to. We know it's going on in the bigger cities, but I would submit to you, it's going on in an awful lot of small towns too. And the only answer that I know is to almost take a page out of the liberals' handbook, and that is a phrase called "Be loud and be proud." Do not sit there and say nothing. Okay, I was escorted out of that mayoral debate last night by a deputy sheriff because I disrupted their little meeting by telling the truth.
Good for you.
In a booming voice.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I wish I were there.
It was like the good old days.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, and I was told that, I could be arrested for a Class B misdemeanor. That's slightly below an illegal alien. which, by the way, they did not refer to. They referred to what was the migrants.
Migrant.
All
my
night
God.
long,
My skin
all they
was
referred to was the migrant problem. 51,000 migrants have been dropped off in San Antonio. And one of the candidates, the current mayor, even had the kushtushkis to say that they are here legally. They are legal because they're because they are asylum seekers.
We have absolutely no information on these people, and they just let them out.
51,000.
But yet the Americans, us here, they have everything, even how many times you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But yet those people can just run wild, kill people, do whatever, and just go on.
Yep. Migrants was the reference that was used for them. Anna couldn't take it anymore. Had to leave.
I don't blame her.
And I'm a two.
And it got Ima and Cookie, and we all left.
Yeah.
And if I were there, I would have been right behind you.
That's funny.
Or I might have been in front of you. I don't know.
They left before I could embarrass them with my antics, but no big deal. I felt like that audience had it coming.
Oh my God!
So
Okay.
I laughed because it was so ridiculous.
So now let's talk about the other thing that was that was misspelled, and that's Bobbie's Boondoggle. That's a reference to Robert Mueller's, and I'm saying this in a very sarcastic tone if you can't hear it, special counsel special report, okay? Mm-hmm. 2 years worth of our time. And the 20, I've heard 22, I've heard 24, million. I've heard 25 million. Nobody knows what it really is, but that's what in good old sales terminology we call a freaking boondoggle.
Right.
And it came up with nothing that it was intended to come up with. I'm not going to tell you that it came up with nothing. And the reason that the opposition, the Democrats, are making such a big deal out of it is it's a smokescreen to try to cover up what it actually did come up with, and that is the malfeasance and the crooked dealings and the treason and sedition that the Democrats are guilty of. And Mueller actually uncovered it. You follow me?
Did nothing about it.
It's a thing called unintended consequences. He didn't do anything about it because it wasn't part of his scope. It wasn't part of his charter.
Well, neither was looking into the Trump campaign. That was not part of his charter. He didn't have a charter. He had an open book.
Well, but see, I've heard people refer to that as spying, and James Comey set us straight. They were not spying on the campaign. They were conducting surveillance.
Same word, different meaning.
Well, but spying is easier to spell. So when you use surveillance, that's like an attorney versus a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, so spying is like a lawyer term.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Surveillance kind of goes. It's bigger, longer, has more syllables. So that's something that an attorney would say. Or maybe I've got it backwards. Somebody call AOC and ask her which goes with which. Attorney, lawyer, surveillance, spying. What's the connection?
Yeah, really.
She's probably still trying to figure out what to do with her other hand.
She's trying to figure out how to spell surveillance. Even though we started late, we just got a minute left. Huh?
Yeah.
Ooh, wow. Time flies.
It does. Tempus fugit.
We got to get that clock on the wall fixed. So.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because it's kind of like making change. Nobody can deduct it.
Yeah.
So anyway, no collusion, no obstruction, and guess who's not buying it? The same people that
the leadership in the Democrat Party.
The same people that put together the scam called the dossier to begin with. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm beginning to believe the people that say that liberalism is an illness.
It is.
I've been reluctant to make that statement because it's rather offensive. Mm-hmm. But I'm here to tell you, I'm convinced it is a mental illness.
It definitely is.
It has something to do with an absolute inability to process the truth. We're front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care. Pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.